Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something that's really got the tech world buzzing. The rise of artificial intelligence and what it might mean for programming jobs.
Yeah, it's a big one.
You're here because you want to get smart on this fast, and that's basically our mission, to cut through the noise, give you the essentials without, making your brain feel like it's running on dial-up.
Exactly. Think of this as your express lane to grasping the core changes. We'll sort of skip the super technical jargon, but really dig into what matters.
You can see how these shifts might affect the bigger picture.
Right.
Our focus today comes from a pretty compelling piece of audio fiction. A podcast episode titled AI Stole My Job, the programmer who got replaced by ChatGPT.
It's a story, yeah, but it cleverly explores different angles of a very real situation. It's a good frame.
And our goal here is to pull out the key arguments, the insights from that fictional podcast.
Basically help you understand where things stand now and maybe where they're heading with AI in programming and, related fields too.
We'll be looking at this from multiple perspectives, weighing different viewpoints, but without taking sides ourselves. Just presenting what the source says.
Absolutely. Let's lay it out.
Okay, so let's get into it. The fictional podcast, it kicks off by reminding us that AI, it's already been creeping into coding for a while now, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. We've seen tools like GitHub Copilot, stuff that suggests code snippets as you type.
Right, and those debugging tools that help find bugs, they've been acting as assistants, sort of.
Exactly. Helpful assistance, boosting productivity maybe on specific tasks. But the game seems to be changing now.
How so?
Well, the fictional podcast really homes in on this idea that AI, and they use ChatGPT as the main example, can now generate much larger chunks of code, like even whole applications.
Ah, okay. And that's the pivot point, isn't it? That raises the big question for anyone in tech or even thinking about getting into tech.
Definitely. What does this actually mean for us humans who, write code for a living?
Which leads us right into the heart of their story. Sam's story.
Right, Sam?
So picture this. Sam's a programmer at this fictional company, CodeFlow Inc. He's working hard, building a billing system, the usual developer grind, wrestling with logic.
Deep in the weeds.
Then his boss just casually drops, "Hey, why don't we try using ChatGPT for this?"
Yeah, you can imagine Sam's reaction. Probably surprise, maybe a little bit of like, are you serious?
Right, skepticism at least. But then comes the kicker, according to the story.
This is a dramatic part. ChatGPT apparently cranked out functional code for that whole billing system in just 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Seriously. Compared to the days Sam had been putting in.
Yeah, that's a pretty stark comparison, and it immediately triggers that, is my job on the line kind of feeling.
No kidding. It's exactly the scenario that feeds into all those anxieties we keep hearing about.
And this is a big but.
Go on.
Here's where the fictional podcast throws in a really interesting curveball. Sam doesn't get fired.
Okay, so what happens?
He actually gets promoted, becomes the lead AI integration, or they jokingly called him the ChatGPT whisperer.
A ChatGPT whisperer. So his new job is what?
It involves showing other teams how to use this AI effectively. Training them, basically.
Okay, so if you're listening, maybe you're breathing a little sigh of relief there. Like, whew, maybe it's not so bad after all.
It's understandable. It paints this picture where AI doesn't just eliminate jobs, it reshapes them. You might think, okay, maybe I'll just become an AI whisperer myself.
But is that realistic?
Well, that's the critical question the fictional podcast raises, too. Can we really expect every company to react like that?
Good point. Will every programmer whose tasks get automated suddenly find themselves in a new, maybe even better position?
It's a valid concern, a very legitimate worry to have.
Absolutely. And this really sets up the central debate in the fictional podcast. Is AI in programming a tool that helps us, or is it a genuine threat to how we make a living?
That's the core tension.
On the threat side, they drew a parallel to something we've all seen. Those self-checkout kiosks in supermarkets.
Yeah, the cashier example.
Right. Those certainly reduce the need for human cashiers. So the question they posed was, could AI do something similar, but on a massive scale, to programmers? And maybe even other creative roles.
It's a relatable analogy, isn't it? Automation changing employment is, it's history repeating itself in some ways, and it's natural to wonder if software development is next. The fictional podcast also brought up something else, a concern maybe for people new to the field, or thinking about learning code.
Okay.
What happens to the entry-level programming jobs? If AI can write the basic code, how do new developers get that essential hands-on experience? Where do they start?
That's a really significant point. How do you learn the ropes if the entry point changes so drastically?
Exactly. But then the fictional podcast flips the script, looking at the tool angle, offering some counterarguments.
Okay, like what?
Well, one key idea was that while some roles might change or maybe become less common, new ones often pop up when technology evolves.
Right, like we've seen before.
Yeah, they used the example of Excel. It didn't wipe out accountants, right?
Yeah.
It shifted their focus more towards analysis, using the tool.
And things like tech support roles or UX designers.
Yeah,
Those grew alongside other tech advances.
precisely. So the argument is AI might just lead to a similar kind of reshuffling, not necessarily just elimination.
Makes sense.
And they had this humorous example too, but it made a good point about AI's limits.
Oh, yeah.
They imagined ChatGPT trying to handle a really angry client email, all caps demands.
Huh. Yeah, I can picture that. How'd it go?
Well, the implication was AI wouldn't really get the nuance, the human emotion, the diplomacy needed. It underscores that AI can generate code, sure, but it might lack that complex judgment, the empathy.
The stuff that requires human understanding.
Exactly, those interpersonal skills.
And what about that learning concern for
Yeah.
new developers?
Right, circling back to that. The fictional podcast offered a pretty interesting take. What if AI could actually speed up learning?
Huh.
Think about it, like having a coding tutor available 24/7, one that explains things, helps you debug, gives personalized feedback.
Okay. So AI as a learning accelerator, not a barrier.
Potentially, yeah. It could lead to maybe even more skilled developers who just learned in a different way with AI support.
That's a different way of looking at it.
And this is where the discussion in the fictional source moves towards the future of work and entirely new kinds of jobs.
Okay, what sort of jobs did they mention?
They talked about roles like AI trainers, people teaching the AI models,
Hmm.
AI ethicists dealing with the complex societal stuff,
Ethicists, interesting. What else?
and prompt engineers, or they playfully called them AI wranglers.
AI wranglers.
Yeah, people who get really good at telling the AI exactly what to do to get the right results, crafting the perfect instructions.
It sounds a bit sci-fi, maybe. But then again.
Well, the fictional podcast made a great point. They compared it to social media manager.
Oh, right. 10, 15 years ago, that sounded like a made-up job title to many people.
Exactly. And now it's a standard, crucial role everywhere. So the idea is these AI-related jobs that sound novel now might become totally mainstream.
So the underlying message is really about adaptation.
Absolutely. Adapting, upskilling. The fictional podcast really hammered home the need to face this technological change head-on, not resist it.
Understand the landscape, see where the opportunities are opening up.
Yeah, identify where human skills are still essential and where these new AI roles are starting to appear.
The fictional podcast even had a section answering audience questions, which felt like they were tapping into common anxieties.
Yeah, that was a neat way to cover some ground.
One big one was, should I even bother learning to code anymore? What was their take?
Their answer was actually pretty reassuring from what I recall. They stressed that coding isn't dying, it's evolving.
Evolving, okay.
They use this great analogy, AI, as a coding gym buddy.
A gym buddy, how does that work?
Well, it's there to assist you, help you get stronger, spot you, but not do all the lifting for you.
I like that. It reframes AI as support, not replacement.
Exactly. A tool to enhance human ability in software development.
Did they address anything else major?
There was a question about AI developing emotions, like feeling guilty for taking jobs.
Ah, the sci-fi fears again.
Right. The fictional podcast kind of laughed that one off, comparing it to a Black Mirror episode.
Okay, so highlighting how speculative that is right now.
Pretty much. Keeping it grounded in current reality.
And wasn't there a lighter one too?
Oh, yeah. Someone asked, can I marry ChatGPT?
And the answer was?
A pretty straightforward no. Which, underscores the current limits of AI and complex human relationships while getting a bit of a chuckle.
Right, keeps things in perspective.
So bringing it all together for you, our listener, this deep dive into that fictional source, it really offers a more nuanced picture.
Yeah, it's definitely not a simple, robots are taking all the programming jobs narrative.
Not at all. It suggests a major transformation is underway. AI takes on certain tasks, yes, but it also enhances human skills in other areas.
And leads to completely new kinds of roles emerging.
That's the key takeaway. The fictional story highlighted potential challenges, like displacement in some specific tasks, for sure.
But also significant new opportunities that are likely coming as AI gets more integrated.
It really just underscores how vital it is to be adaptable, right? Willing to learn new skills as this tech keeps advancing so quickly.
Couldn't agree more. And it's important to remember, this isn't just about programming, is it?
No, not at all. Think broader. The implications across many industries.
If AI can cause this kind of shift in coding, which is already pretty tech-savvy.
What other roles, ones we currently think of as purely human domains, might see similar transformations down the road?
That's the really big question to leave you with. If AI keeps evolving at this pace, what other professions might change dramatically?
And maybe more importantly, how should we as individuals prepare? What skills, what kind of adaptability, what mindset will be crucial in that kind of future?
Definitely something worth mulling over. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.